A missile boat. A missile cutter is a small warship armed with anti-ship missiles. Being a small craft, missile boats are popular with nations interested in forming an inexpensive navy. They are similar in idea to the torpedo boats of World War II. In fact, the first missile boats were modified torpedo boats replacing two or more torpedo tubes with missile tubes. The doctrine behind the use of missile boats is based on the principle of mobility over defense and firepower. The advent of proper guided missile and electronic countermeasure technologies gave birth to the idea that, because a guided missile is far more accurate than an unguided missile, warships should now be designed to outmaneuver their enemies and get to a better position first. Moreover, increasing the potency of naval artillery requires employing larger projectiles, which necessitates larger naval guns and consequently, larger platforms to carry these guns and absorb the recoil. This trend culminated in the giant battleships of World War II. The ability to deploy anti-ship guided self-propelled warheads from small, maneuverable platforms partially negates the advantages that were provided by larger ships in the era before the advent of guided self-propelled warheads. A small missile boat, when equipped with sophisticated guided anti-ship missiles, can pose a negligible to moderate threat to even the largest of capital ships, and are so at much greater ranges than is possible with torpedoes. Design. Missile boats were invented and first manufactured in the Soviet Union. The significant characteristics of the boat were an extremely thin-skinned 200-ton hull, propelled by very high-power engines that give a high speed of 34 knots. Being small, the boat had a very small radar cross-section. Its sophisticated radar was more advanced than any other known radar. It enabled the missile boat, with its low radar reflectivity, to detect a larger ship well before the latter was even aware of its presence, to fire its missiles and to speed away faster than any other ship. The Russian naval architects had deliberately designed these characteristics so as to give the small boats this advantage against much larger American naval ships should they attempt to attack the Russian coast. The boats were designed for, and only had limited endurance for, coastal operations. History. The first few missile boats were originally torpedo boats, with the torpedo tubes replaced by missile launchers. Again, small fast craft could attack and destroy a major warship. The idea was first tested by the Soviet Union as Project 183R, which, in August 1957, produced the Kamar class, which mounted two P-15 Termit missiles in box launchers on a 25-meter hull backed with a twin 25mm gun. 4 diesels gave the Kamars 4,800 bhp and a top speed of around 40 knots. Endurance was limited to 1,000 nautical miles at 12 knots, and the vessels had supplies for only 5 days at sea. 110 Kamar-class vessels were produced, while over 400 examples were built of the following OSA class, with a significant portion of the total being sold to pro-Soviet nations. The first combat use of missile boats was by the Egyptian Soviet-built Kamar-class craft, which fired 4 Styx missiles on the Israeli destroyer Eilat on October 20, 1967, shortly after the Six-Day War, causing the latter's sinking with 47 dead. The Soviet FACs prompted a NATO response, which became more intense after the sinking of Eilat. The Germans and French worked together to produce a new FAC, resulting in 1968 in the Combatant II class, built on a 47-49-meter hull with 12,000 bhp of MTU diesel engines driving 4 shafts. A common layout would have 4 MM-38 Exocet missiles in 2 sets of 2 box launch, in line and offset to the right and left, with a 76mm gun forward and 40mm twin guns aft. Built until 1974, a total of 68 combatant IIs were launched. The design was immediately followed by the Combatant 3, which added 9 meters to hull length but kept the same armament. 43 of this type were produced. A great many other shipyards produced their own versions of the Combatant, notably the Israeli SAAR warship variants. Missile craft have seen action in various conflicts since the development. The Indian Navy's 25th Missile Boat Squadron, consisting of vessels from the Beech class, played a crucial role in the highly devastating Indian attacks on Karachi in December 1971. The two key operations in which these vessels played an active role were Operation Trident and Operation Python. The attacks destroyed half of the Pakistani Navy and most of Pakistan's fuel reserves in the port's fuel storage tanks, which clearing way for decisive victory of Indian armed forces in the Western Theater during the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. The world's first naval missile battles between warships occurred between Israel Navy SAAR-3 class missile boats and SAAR-4 class missile boats, and Syrian OSA class missile boats and Qamar class missile boats during the October 1973 Yom Kippur War. The first of these engagements became known as the Battle of Latakia. In these battles, some 50 Gabriels and a similar number of Styx missiles were fired, and 7 Syrian craft were sunk, with 0 losses for the Israelis. At the Battle of Bubiyan in 1991, Iraqi FACs were destroyed by British air-to-surface missiles. Later designs, such as the German Gepard class and Finnish Hamina class, are equipped with surface-to-air missiles and countermeasures. Size has also increased, some designs reaching up to corvette size, 800 tons, including a helicopter, giving them extended modes of operation. In April 1996, during Israel's Operation Grape Sivra, IDF naval forces used SAAR-4 and SAAR-4.5 boats to shell the Lebanese coast with 76 mm fire, in conjunction with artillery and air attacks. Current situation: Iran and North Korea have some of the largest numbers of FACs in operation today. North Korea alone operates more than 300, while Iran have been seen developing swarm boats to be used as harassing vessels in the heavily contested littoral waters of the Persian Gulf. To counter the threat, the U.S. Navy has been developing an ASUW littoral defensive anti-surface warfare doctrine, along with vessels such as the Littoral Combat Ship.